Creative is back at it, here to give everyone my very first Game of Thrones Season 8 episode review video. Before I get to that, though, pretty important, if you're not caught up to the point where I am in rewatching or watching Game of Thrones, or you're just not entirely sure, then you definitely need to take the initiative and pay attention to the episode's title, which of course I'll mention as well as put in the description for you. If that has to be the case and you're not caught up, it would be my recommendation that you don't watch this video any further just to stay away from any potential spoilers. This will be Game of Thrones Season 8, Episode 1. The title of this episode is called Winterfell. This will be my review, reaction, recap after just finishing watching the episode a few hours ago. So, the episode starts off kind of like how the pilot episode of Game of Thrones starts off. You hear the Baratheon theme, and you have people coming to Winterfell. Daenerys Targaryen arrives at Winterfell for the first time, alongside, of course, Jon Snow, Tyrion, Jorah, Varys, Missandei, Grey Worm, the Hound, the Unsullied, the Dothrakis, and two dragons. Yeah, there's a lot of people. And during this time, you see, I believe, the Lord Umber kind of trying to get a better spot to see people as they arrive. You also see Arya see people she hasn't seen in a while, like the Hound. She hadn't seen him since the end of season 4. And you also see Arya see Gendry, who she hasn't seen, well, for a long time. So that was good stuff. And then Jon, of course, reunites with Bran and gets off his horse and runs over to him and gives him a kiss on the head. And Bran just really doesn't give a shit because he's emotionless. And Daenerys is greeted by Lady Sansa and the townspeople and the Northern Lords. Though the pleasantries are cut short when Bran reveals to Daenerys and Jon that the Night King and the White Walkers have, well, the Night King specifically has turned Viserion into a zombie dragon, essentially, and they've breached the wall. They're coming. They're close. So Sansa has ordered the Northern Lords to retreat to Winterfell to make a stand against the undead, but at the council, Lyanna Mormont and the other lords expressed displeasure towards Jon for abandoning his position as king in the north by swearing to basically give his allegiance to a Targaryen. This tension is magnified when Tyrion declaims that the Lannister army will soon march north too, and Sansa fears that the combined forces may overstretch their supplies, but in private implies to Tyrion that she does not believe Cersei will send her army anyway. Sansa's not dumb. Qyburn informs Cersei that the White Walkers have indeed breached the wall, which pleases Cersei. Euron Greyjoy arrives with Yara Greyjoy as his prisoner and with the entire army of the Golden Company, but they didn't bring any elephants, which probably pisses Cersei off. And then Euron uses his deeds to convince Cersei to start their relationship, and the pair do indeed have sex. And then Euron insists that he will impregnate Cersei, who appears to be visibly upset when she leaves the room, like she didn't really want to do anything with Euron because her heart is with Jaime and she misses Jaime. Just my thoughts on that. And then Qyburn visits Bronn and tells him presents him with the crossbow that Tyrion used to assassinate Tywin. Should Jaime and Tyrion survive the war against the dead, Cersei wants Bronn to assassinate both of them. Whew. That's interesting. And then we have an amazing scene where Jon Snow's standing at the wherewithal tree, and all of a sudden he hears Arya, and it's just a great moment. Like, they see each other, and then Arya smiles and runs towards Jon, and then Jon's like, "You've got your sword," and then she pulls it out, holds it, and says, "Needle," and he's like, "Have you ever used it?" "Just a few times." A great touching moment. I'd mentioned there's going to be, when Sansa and Jon reunited and Bran and Jon reunited, there was going to be a better reuniting, and I think the reuniting with Jon and Arya was great. So that's good. And then Gendry, who is working in Winterfell's forges, crafting dragon glass weapons, and he's having a conversation with the Hound. Davos suggests to Tyrion and Varys that the Northerners should be won over by dethroning Jon and Daenerys, making them king and queen. And Jon and Dragon, they ride dragons together, deepening their bond. And then Sansa accuses Jon of bending the knee out of love for Daenerys, which it probably is true, although we don't know for sure. Theon Greyjoy secretly boards Euron's flagship in the night and frees his sister Yara. Yara decides to retake the Iron Islands while Euron is distracted by matters in King's Landing, whereas Theon decides to journey to Winterfell to fight the undead with Daenerys and the Starks, because he's a Stark and he's a Greyjoy. Sam, he meets with Daenerys, who thanks him for curing Jorah of his grayscale when nobody else wanted to, but after discovering his identity, admits that, well, she actually executed his father, of course, Randall Tarly, and his brother, Dickon Tarly. And Bran instructs a heartbroken Sam to tell Jon about his true Targaryen heritage as Aegon Targaryen that we learned in Season 7, Episode 7. And then, which of course leaves Jon stunned. And then Sam has a conversation with Bran, where Bran just kind of mentions to him, I'm going to meet an old friend. More on that later. Tormund and Beric, having survived the fall of Eastwatch, thank God, lead their party into House Umber's seat of the last hearth, where had already been sacked by the dead. They encounter Ed, who had evacuated the Night's Watch from Castle Black, and they find young Lord Umber, who I believe Sansa said, go back to your place and get your people and give them a message and then come right back. And that's why Lord Umber is there. I think he was the one at the beginning of the episode that was kind of trying to get higher ground to see the whole army come through. So he's impaled to the wall, and Tormund declares that they must reach Winterfell before the Night King. And then the symbol is around him, and then he reanimates as a white. And Beric Dondarrion burns him with his flaming sword. When they first meet up, it's a funny part. Tormund's coming from this side. Ed's, the Night's Watch, are coming from this side, and they meet. And then Ed tells him, he's got blue eyes. And Tormund's like, I've always had blue eyes. Funny. Tormund's just comic relief at this point. And then the episode ends with somebody showing up at Winterfell on a horse. The person removes their hood, and it's none other than Jaime Lannister. And as he gets off his horse, turns around, he sees Bran waiting directly for him. And he said he was waiting for an old friend. Jaime and Bran kind of look at each other, and that's how the episode ends. So I expected a lot more from this premiere of Game of Thrones. I feel like I was let down a lot. I mean, they could have done a lot more. I think they should have combined the first and second episode. Personally, that's my opinion. Of course, they only had 6 episodes. I guess they didn't have enough material to do that, but I'm not happy with it. So, as far as the score of the episode, where there's things I liked. I liked Arya and Jon reunited, and I like, of course, Jaime and Bran seeing each other for the first time since the very first episode of Game of Thrones, or was it the second episode of Game of Thrones? I'm going to give the episode a 6.8 out of 10. Again, I felt let down. It was good that Theon rescued Yara. That was good. But other than that, a lot of kind of boring stuff. Obviously, we know what we want to see. And as far as the character of the episode, I thought about giving it to Theon, but I have to go with Jon Snow. Just because. So you've heard what I had to say. Now it is, of course, your turn if you're a fan of Game of Thrones and you love this series. Or if you just like it, please smash that like button. If you like this video enough where you want to share it across all your social media platforms, that would be great, and I would definitely appreciate that. It's an honor to have somebody share things on their social media platforms. Don't forget to sound off in the comment section about your thoughts on the episode. What would you score this episode? Maybe 6.9 is low. I think it's, or 6.8 I said. I think it gets rated like a 7.6 or something like that normally. I just felt more let down than some people did, I guess. Of course, there's another episode in the season where I rank it really high and people have it kind of 7-ish, but I'll get into that later. But make sure you sound off about what your score should be. And who would you pick as the character of the episode? I know it's kind of a hard episode to judge who the character of the episode is, but I did my best. And of course, last but certainly not least, I definitely want to grow the channel, but I need your help. So please don't forget to hit this, smash the like button, but don't forget to hit that sub button, subscribe to the channel, join the team, show your damn support, be a part of something special, and JDev will return.